This shift is happening now.
Nobody was ripping anybody off in 1995. The math was correct in 1995.
The rental model made sense in the 1980s. However, it's expensive today.
The model didn't get worse. The reason for the model just quietly stopped being true.
I want to say something that might sound strange coming from a guy selling you the alternative.
Every industry has a moment when it has to confront its own outdated systems. Welcome to Full Resolution. For years, Hospitality AV has operated on a model built around rentals, line items, and complexity. We helped build that system, and now we're here to challenge it. There's a clearer, smarter approach rooted in ownership, operational efficiency, and real revenue growth. Join us, and let's get this movement started.
I want to say something that might sound strange coming from a guy selling you the alternative. The old rental model wasn't stupid. It made sense. It made sense for about 30 years. It just doesn't make sense anymore, and almost nobody's stopped to ask why.
Welcome to Full Resolution. I'm Chirag Patel.
And I'm Martin Kwitschau. Today isn't about Apex. It's about a simple question. Why did hotels ever hand this over to a vendor in the first place, and what actually changed? Chirag, take me back. Why did this get outsourced in the first place? And I want the honest answer, not the sales answer.
Well, because it genuinely required things a hotel had no business owning. Event technology meant massive capital investment up front, specialized technicians who had to be trained and retained, and complex inventory management tracking, maintaining and replacing the equipment across an entire portfolio. A hotel's core competency is hospitality, not warehousing AV gear and staffing broadcast engineers. Outsourcing wasn't a mistake. It was the only rational move available.
So this is important. We're not saying the vendors who built that model were doing something wrong.
No, not at all. I'd go further. You built part of that model. The commission structure made sense when the alternative for a hotel was buying and maintaining a broadcast truck's worth of equipment on their own balance sheet. Nobody was going to do that.
So what changed? Because the model's the same today as it was 20 years ago. But you're telling me the reason for it disappeared.
Three things, and they all happened quietly over the last several years without the AV industry's business model catching up. First, cloud-based systems replaced a lot of what was used to require dedicated on-site technical staff. Remote monitoring, remote configuration, systems that manage themselves instead of needing a person standing next to them. Second, AI-assisted quoting. Pricing out a group's AV needs used to require a specialist manually building a 200-line proposal. Now that can happen automatically, accurately, and in the time it takes to fill out a form. Third, the equipment itself got dramatically more affordable, more reliable, and easier to operate than it was even 10 years ago.
So the barrier wasn't really AV is complicated. The barrier was AV requires capital, staff, and inventory management a hotel doesn't want to carry.
Yeah, exactly. And every one of those three specific barriers has been substantially reduced by technology that did not exist when the outsourcing model was built. The model didn't get worse. The reason for the model just quietly stopped being true.
That's a very different claim than the old vendors were ripping people off.
It is, and it's the more honest one. Nobody was ripping anybody off in 1995. The math was correct in 1995. It's just not 2026 anymore, and the industry kept charging like it was.
Let's talk about the third piece, because the technology got cheaper isn't the reason a hotel has to act. What's actually forcing the issue now?
Guest expectations have changed, and they changed independent of anything happening in the AV industry at all. People expect seamless, branded experiences everywhere else in their lives now. Their phone, their car, their streaming service, all of it just works invisibly without them thinking about the infrastructure behind it. A rental model, by its nature, can't deliver that. It's gear that shows up Tuesday and leaves Thursday, operated by someone who doesn't work for the hotel and has never met the guest before.
So even if the cost math didn't change at all, the expectation gap would still be a problem.
It would be a bigger problem, honestly, because the expectation gap is the one that shows up in a guest review, not on a P&L line. Ownership and control aren't just financially better anymore. For a lot of guests, they're the only way to actually meet the bar those guests are walking in with.
So this is really three separate forces landing on hotels at the same time. The capital barrier disappeared, the expertise barrier disappeared, and the expectation bar went up. Any one of those would be a reason to look at this. All three at once is why it's happening now instead of 5 years from now.
Yep, that's the whole episode in one sentence, honestly.
I want to head off the obvious skepticism here, because I'd have it too if I were listening. This sounds like the timing just happens to be perfect for the thing I'm selling.
Fair. And I'd point to the fact that this shift is showing up across categories that have nothing to do with Apex, specifically in-house AV, in-house event technology, hotels bringing services back under their own roof. That trend predates any one company's pitch. We didn't create the shift. We built something that responds to a shift that was already happening because the underlying economics, they've changed.
So the honest version of this episode is, the rental model made sense in the 1980s. However, it's expensive today, and that would be true whether or not our company existed.
That's the honest version. What we built is one answer to that shift. It's not the reason the shift is happening.
If you're evaluating whether now is actually the right time to look at this, the honest test isn't, is Apex a good deal? It's the reason I outsourced this in the first place stopped being true. For most full-service hotels today, it has.
And that's worth sitting with on its own, separate from any specific vendor or model.
If you want to see what ownership looks like once that barrier's gone, visit us at amsishospitality.com.
Thanks for listening to Full Resolution.
By the way, this shift is happening now.
See you on the next episode.